Welcome to The Complete Works, an official podcast of FilmBook. The Complete Works is a podcast that delves film by film into the filmography of a Hollywood actor, director, writer, or composer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Complete Works podcast, a film podcast brought to you by FilmBook. My name is Doug Hess. If you're tuning into the Complete Works podcast for the first time, what I do on this podcast is discuss a specific movie from a film actor, actress, director, or composer's film career. Currently working my way through Tom Cruise's career, and in this episode of the Complete Works podcast, I'll be discussing the film All the Right Moves. You can find more information about the Complete Works podcast episodes on FilmBook, that's film-book.com, by using the search term The Complete Works. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode. If you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, please like our video, subscribe, and consider becoming one of our patrons on Patreon at patreon.com/FilmBook. Your support helps us to create more engaging content. As I mentioned, we're going to be looking at the film All the Right Moves that was released back in 1983. The release date was October the 21st, 1983, and it runs approximately an hour and 31 minutes. Film location was Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and production companies was Lucille Ball Production and 20th Century Fox. Now, what I like to do is just kind of give you a quick 30-second overview of what the movie is about, All the Right Moves, starring Tom Cruise. Some of you may have not seen it in years. Some of you may have never seen it, but it's a film that I think you should check out. It's really the sensitive study of a headstrong high school football star who dreams of getting out of this small western Pennsylvania town and becoming on a football scholarship. His ambitious coach aims at a college position himself, resulting in a clash which could crush both of their dreams in the process if they're not careful. So, like I said, All the Right Moves. What do I think about this film? It's interesting. I'm recording this film as of the 1st of September, and we are in the heart of football season, both at the high school, college, getting ready for the professional NFL to be having their games as well. And what I really think is interesting is at the time, at any given moment, whether it's a Friday night under the lights, Saturday afternoon, or on a Sunday, we all think that particular game that we are playing is the most important game at any given time. And to some degree it is. Because the most important game is the game that you're in right now. And that really kind of sums up everything about this movie, is how important this is for an individual to be able to make all these quote-unquote right moves in order to move on to fulfill his dream in terms of that. So when it comes to, the team, the members, the fans, etc., a school victory really is reflective on who the team is, and it must be won at all cost. Like I said, Cruise's character is trying to get out of this steel mine, small Pennsylvania town, where unemployment seems to be really the only way of life in the community, and his chance of getting out and going to a college on a college scholarship seems to be really good. However, his high school coach, played by Craig T. Nelson, which is wonderful in the movie, is also looking for a ticket, and he is using his star player, the quarterback, Tom Cruise's character, to try to cash in, make sure that happens. And then what is really interesting is both of their worlds almost come crashing down in the process because of some of the decisions and the pressure each of these, the player, the coach, is really kind of putting on one another and making something that could be really great for both of them into into really a disaster in the process. What I really like about this movie is it's believable, is number one. Number two is it's not your typical high school football film. It's not, like some cheerleader or guys are out there trying to just get laid in that process, but it's really kind of an emotional, really playing on that drama and really getting to the heart of what a lot of teenagers are feeling, whether it's guilt, pressure, trouble, whether it's at home, school, with the girlfriend, etc. And it really puts things in perspective in a real life scenario. And that's really what I really like about this movie. And what's interesting is a lot of the scenes are at night. And so you have the darkness. And I think that's, well, first of all, that's because a lot of high school games are played at night. But it also gives that dark undertone, I felt, in the movie as well, and I think is important in terms of that. Does it work? Absolutely it works. It's very believable. I said that from the very beginning, that it's a very believable film, and it works, and it's not your goofy teenagers or clumsy and goofy and just have one thing in mind, that Tom Cruise's portrayal really is authentic. I would also go as far as say it's maybe one of his better performances early on in his career, because his character has depth and feeling. It shows emotion, and all that and you could feel that when you're watching Cruise in terms of that. That really kind of goes into some of the characters in the film. Craig T. Nelson as a high school coach is wonderful. And he has that passion. He wants to win. But he also has that passion that he wants to make sure he's taking care of himself, because he knows that he can kind of cash out and leave and go to the next level as an assistant coach in college. And he sees his quarterback as his ticket. So he's putting a lot of pressure not only on himself, but also on his quarterback, because they can help each other in the process. But it's so much in life is, even though one can help the other, how many times have we seen something in life where things get all messed up because somebody takes it either a little bit too far, or they don't include somebody else in there, in the mix, or the pressure and the writing of somebody is just too much. And so while I think Craig Nelson gives a wonderful performance in this film, he's very believable. He shows that passion. He shows that desire. Almost everything that you expect in a high school football coach, he really shows, and that translates on the field. So you have Tom Cruise that's in here. Leah Thompson plays his girlfriend. Craig T. Nelson, Chris Penn is in here as well. But I'm telling you, Nelson, Craig T. Nelson, and I think Tom Cruise are the two that really kind of steal the show, because they need each other. They clash with each other. And it's really almost like a Greek tragedy in a way, at the way these two kind of fight and tear at each other throughout this film. When I was thinking about some of the other films about this, we could look at Johnny Be Good with Anthony Michael Hall that's in there. They don't really compare, because that's more of a loosey-goosey comedy film, where this one here, again, is more of a drama, is more almost relating, being able to relate to the kids, and really getting at the heart of the matter. Wildcats is another film in the 80s that was with Goldie Hawn. And that's more of a comedy, too, that kind of making light of the situation as well. Again, like I said, I think this film really stands out on its own compared to other films at this moment that just tries to do something good, but just doesn't kind of match up, if you will. So those are a couple films that come to mind. Again, so many of these films in the 80s were more comedy with sports. I think of Teen Wolf, even though it wasn't football, it was more basketball with Michael J. Fox. That was more of a comedy. Again, these are all entertaining films that I really enjoy watching, but they don't really match up to all the right moves. And this was one of the first movies I think really takes a serious look at the pressures that high school students go through or go with in that film. Would I say this is a good film? Yeah, I do think it's a good film. Why do I think it's a good film? Because number one, like I said earlier, it is so believable. This is one of those films that is very believable all the way through, and it's one that kind of doesn't get old watching. The plot, like I said, it feels real. It centers around these kinds of trouble or horrible misunderstandings that are out there, mistakes that we all remember when we were in high school, that we thought we knew it all, mistakes where, God, at 17, 18, we thought we knew everything. We didn't listen to others in that process. And so many times when we did listen to somebody, it was way too late in terms of that. And I really think it speaks at the heart of that. Again, a lot of high school kids walking around feeling guilty, even if they're totally innocent of the situation. We see this all the time, and I don't know if that's just a passage of a teenager that we all have to kind of go through, earn our stripes, but it's something that, this film was made in 88, released in 83. Here it is almost 25. We're in the latter half of 2024, and you see high school students still doing this today, walking around feeling guilty in the process. So what has changed? A lot of things have really stayed the same, no matter if it's 30, 40 years ago, 50 years, in the past, what is true then is still true today. And I think that's really kind of an interesting concept, and then we also add the conflict in there in the background with the girlfriend. This is a dynamics of a high school student body that is tender, complicated relationship with his girlfriend, played by Leah Thompson. And, that's something that also has to be thrown in the mix. You have the pressure of football, the pressure of going to college, the pressure of doing well in school, making sure that you make it out of this town where unemployment seems to be the only employment in town. And then you add the relationships in there as well with a girlfriend. And that it's life. It is real. And that is what makes this film work. It's what makes this film so believable, is because you've got about 6, 7 different ingredients that either we can all relate to, something that we've been through in school in the past. Now, maybe not everybody played sports or had a demanding high school coach, but the point is it's believable because we know of different places out there that we've seen something just like that take place. So I think that makes that for a good film. I'll rate it like I do at the very end for all films, but this is very believable in terms of that. And I tell you again, Tom Cruise and Craig T. Nelson does a wonderful job of that, showing that passion. Craig T. Nelson getting upset and wanting something for himself, but also kind of wanting something for his player, but he wants it more for himself than his player. All that comes through on the screen. The chemistry works. It's a great cast, great chemistry there. Leah Thompson does a wonderful job too as a girlfriend. My personal opinion is Cruise and Nelson are the two central, and Leah Thompson is that background player that again makes the film work and believable in the process. The nice thing about it is a lot of this was filmed on location, and it felt real. And again, I think that's important. I mentioned earlier that I think another thing that works is a lot of this was filmed at night because the games are at night, high school, Friday Night Lights, in terms of that. And after the game and stuff, and the dark setting really hits the dark tone that is trying to be portrayed. And I think they do a wonderful job of portraying that in the film as well, in terms of that. The dialogue for the script was great. The feel for the film, like I said, I think that darkness overshadows was not maybe intended because that was just part of it, but I think it just gives it so much more depth into it, and it really sets the tone about what this film is going to be about, what this film is about. And that's that dark side of making decisions, making sure that you are making all those correct decisions in the process. Is it easy? Absolutely not. It's tough to be able to make some of these decisions in the process, but I think that what makes this film work in the process. A little production box office notification. Like I said, production companies, Lucille Ball Productions and 20th Century Fox. The budget was estimated around $5.6 million. It grossed in the U.S. 17.2. Opening weekend in the U.S. and Canada, 1.6. That was as of October the 23rd, 1983. And like I said, worldwide, it made approximately $17.2 million. A little bit of trivia, and again, I hope you find this as interesting as we do, trying to put it together for some of these films. I just think it adds a little bit more to the backstory of these films when we put some of this trivia out there. So let's go ahead and get started. With that, the director wanted Leah Thompson and Tom Cruise to go undercover to remember what it was like to be in high school. And I remember these characters were already out of high school, and trying to play younger characters. So they went to separate schools, and while Cruise was spotted after just one day because somebody recognized him from the movie Taps from 1981, Leah Thompson went about 4 days and was asked out by many guys and actually got caught smoking. In 2018, Thompson stated she initially did not want the part as the script required her to participate in 2 nude scenes. She told the producers they wanted me to show my breast twice in the script. I didn't even audition because I didn't want to take my shirt off, but I got the part and was like, okay. But Tom Cruise persuaded the producers to drop one of the scenes and volunteered to appear fully nude himself in order to make her feel more comfortable. In the second, he said, well, if she has to be naked, I'll be naked too, end quote. Thompson said, quote, that's pretty badass. I've always been grateful to him for standing up to the producers, end quote. Cruise and Thompson performed a majority of their own nudity in the love scenes. However, body doubles were used for insert shots. The same body doubles were also used early in the film for the insert shots in the makeout scene in the car. The film's soundtrack noticeably received top billing in the movie's closing credits. Unusually, each track is listed in the credits with the scene it is played over in the film. Cruise did suffer a minor concussion during filming. It was considered a male version of Flashdance from 1983. Both movies were about young central characters living in a Pennsylvania town and following a dream to become a success and getting out. One was in Pittsburgh and is destined to stay in this mill town unless he can score a scholarship. The film replaces Flash dancing with American football, and both films had a decent rock soundtrack. It was the directorial debut of cinematographer Michael Chapman. First name above the top billing on a movie poster for Cruise. In the same year that Risky Business came out, Cruise had top billing, but it wasn't above the title. Steph, who is Tom Cruise's character, is being recruited by Syracuse, and Syracuse is Tom Cruise's actual hometown. This was the first big role playing a football coach for Craig T. Nelson, who would later become perhaps best known to audience for his character of football coach Hayden Fox on the television series Coach in 1989. I will have to say this film here, All the Right Moves, is great with Craig T. Nelson, but he was also pretty good in Poltergeist. And I'll just leave it at that. The film was made and released 3 years after its source article about the high school team in Pennsylvania by sports journalist Pat Jordan, was first published in Geo magazine in 1980. The story included in the 2008 anthology, The Best Sports Writing Pat Jordan. Let's see here. Leah Thompson's first leading role film that is not a sweet sequel to another film like Jaws 3D. Chris Penn and Leah Thompson co-starred together again in The Wildlife in 1984, a year later. Tom Cruise's character has been said to be inspired by real-life Pennsylvania coach Don A. Hanzes, as well as two members of his team, and that coach from Pennsylvania is Yannessa. I apologize for butchering that. The movie was shot on location during the WPIAL Western Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic League American football season. The majority of the scenes were filmed in Johnsontown, Pennsylvania. Slapshot, another sports film about a minor league hockey team, also was filmed there. Let's see here. The uniforms for Walnut Heights were supplied by another Johnstown school, Westmont Hilltop High School. The movie was filmed in the spring, not the fall. Notice there are 0 leaves on the tree. Let's see here. Just a couple more here. Coach Nickerson was named after one of the writer Pat Jordan's English professors at Fairfield University, a Jewish priest. The film's title, All the Right Moves, is a double entree referring to both human decisions making and match play. The film was produced by Lucille Ball Production Company. Although Lucille Ball Productions gets on-screen credit, her involvement in the production was minimized in publicity out of concern that the film's content would tarnish her image. So just a little trivia about the film All the Right Moves. Hopefully you found that as entertaining and informative as we did when we were doing our research for that. So now comes the time of what I thought overall of the film All the Right Moves. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being outstanding, or terrible, and 10 being outstanding, I'm going to give this a 7. It's an interesting film, one that I really enjoyed. Again, I stand by 2 things that I say. It's realistic, number 1. Number 2, I think this may perhaps be one of Tom Cruise's best performance early on in his career. Now, please, I don't want to have anybody misunderstand me. I didn't say overall, but of his early career, I really think All the Right Moves really does spot on in that process overall. So just a couple thoughts there. Craig T. Nelson does a wonderful job as the coach. I think he nails that performance as well in terms of that. So if you haven't seen All the Right Moves from 1983 starring Tom Cruise, I strongly encourage you to go out and make sure you find a copy of the film, whether it's on streaming platform or I guess you don't rent it, but buy it today, these days, and watch the film. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. All the Right Moves, especially here we are in September. It's football season. I think you're going to enjoy it. And like I said, it's a believable film, great acting, and one that I hope you enjoyed as much as I did watching and reporting on it as well. So thank you for listening to this episode of the Complete Works Podcast. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to future episodes. You'll find FilmBook on all major social media platforms and networks, so give us a follow. You can find more information of my work on FilmBook's official website, which is film-book.com. Just search for Doug Hess or The Complete Works. You can also find me on Twitter or Instagram at HessDoug14. Tune in next time when we review and analyze the next Tom Cruise film. Thank you for listening. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to The Complete Works. Find more of The Complete Works on FilmBook, on your favorite podcast service, and on YouTube.